G'day guys and welcome. My name is Michael. I'm the Dead Aussie Gamer and a very, very Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate. Yes, that's right, here in the land of Oz. It is the 24th of December, meaning that we are ever closer towards the Christmas season. Fancy Unicorn, if you're still around, it's always good to see you. Thank you so much and please have a wonderful and safe holiday. Voltari, I see you in chat as well. Merry Christmas, and I hope that you are also in fine spirits and having a good day. I'm enjoying a beverage. I had orange juice. It's orange juices for the most part. But I also had some peaches, and I threw them in here. I wouldn't call it a special drink or anything like that. I just had peaches I needed to consume. Perfect summertime drink. And you can see the peaches in it. So if I end up doing something gross on stream, such as chugging peach slices, that'll be a new thing I do apparently. So yeah. So what are we doing today? We are hanging out, chilling out, relaxing, unwinding, chatting about all the things, as well as reading Charles Dickens' classic tale, A Christmas Carol. Christmas Carol was written a while ago, and we've obviously seen so many different renditions of it. There's been the books, the novels, the Muppet movie, Scrooge with Bill Murray. You know, there's so many different takings of it, but I've actually realized I never sat down and read from start to finish A Christmas Carol, the original version. So that's what we're doing. Hey, General Davies, good to see you. Welcome in, my friend. Please sit down, relax, unwind. But yeah, so I've not read A Christmas Carol before, so we're doing that. And it is the 24th. 'Tis the night before Christmas, as one would say. So yeah, there you go. And we're just gonna be doing some reading, chilling out. If you guys have any questions you'd like to ask or anything you'd like to just talk about in general, feel free to throw them up in chat. We'll be doing that. And after we do story time, I might be doing a couple of other little things. I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of feeling out what my week's gonna be. I don't know what it is yet. I just, next week's gonna be hectic, because we're on break for so many different things. But I'm not gonna disappear. We're gonna do some stuff. We're gonna hang out. Yeah, but mostly hangout streams, game streams, that sort of thing. Because my relaxing thing is to hang out with you guys. So that's it. Drinking a hot chocolate right now to stay warm. Oh my god! That is brilliant. I love that. If you've got a special hot chocolate recipe, share it with me in chat. I have my own very special DAG hot chocolate that I like to have during the winter seasons. I don't usually drink it at Christmas, but I have a friend of mine who I've told about it and is insistent that I make some. So I have to go out shopping to make it. But yeah. About 42 Asians. Merry Christmas, fella. Perfect timing. Finish wrapping the kids' presents and going to bed. Hey, that's wonderful to hear, man. Like, I'm so excited. I hope that your kids have an absolutely magical morning, and you celebrate in the highest of spirits. Thank you for hanging out here for a little bit. Yeah, like I said, we're gonna be reading A Christmas Carol, chilling out. Which video games? Okay, so I've got Nemesis Lockdown. I've got Marvel Snap. I've got Tabletop Simulator. If some people want to do some board games and stuff like that. I've got Lethal Company, that I might, see if some of my friends want to come and do that with me. I've got Orc Must Die, which is a fun little trap game, and, yeah, that's it. Or I might be just reading some, like, TTRPG stuff, getting that study on and, doing some research on some things. Yeah. Or maybe just listen to music. I don't know. Like I said, very up in the air. I was supposed to do a bunch of stuff, and I was supposed to do Dragon Kitchen, but my competitors were unfortunately swept into the Christmas season, and look, I don't fault any of my guests or my friends from having lives, but it does mean that I do have to work on reschedules and yada yada yada. So I have nothing planned and set in stone yet, but I'm hoping that they'll get back to me sometime soon so I can. But yeah, that's what I'm up to. Yeah, there we go. I'll also be releasing a new Hero Forge video coming out soon. So that'll come out next week on my YouTube channel. There will also be a new series, not the one that I'm saving up for, but a brand new series I'm going to be working on in the background. Maybe even a new YouTube channel or a new TikTok. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be a little bit. It'll be an experiment more than anything else. If it becomes popular, great. If it's not, then eh. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah. So lots of cool stuff. Lots of cool stuff happening. And if you haven't already, guys, yeah, just hang about in the Discord. Discord is where you find all my stuff. It's there. Okay. So before we get into reading, guys, as always, the reading streams are just that. They're just chill hangouts and stuff. But if any of you kind, generous, and wonderful souls ever feel like donating to the Aussie Gamer funds, please do so. We obviously will make good use of it and stuff, but there's no requirement for it, in any kind of way. All right, so where are we at? We are at stave 3, chapter 3, should we say. The Ghost of Christmas Present is this one. Now, I absolutely love this chapter because in a lot of the renditions that I've seen, I know that there's a toned down version of the Ghost of Christmas Present. Some of them toned down on the biblical side of things and the darker side of things. Others embrace it. So I'm keen to see what the original text actually has to say. Mythical Turian, you bloody legend, you. Thank you for the 100 big old supple bitties. And a Merry Christmas to you as well, my dear friend. I hope that you and all of those around you are in good health and stay happy and safe. For those of you who don't know, Mythical Turian has been an avid supporter of my channel, as well as a bunch of my friends, and they have been a massive support as long as I've known them. So, yes, thank you so much. And yeah. Chill, relax, unwind. You're always welcome here. Okay. Let's say we read. Shall we read? We'll read. Let me move this over here so my eye line is here. So I'm kind of looking at you guys, but I'm not. I'm reading the thing. All right. Oh yeah, and as always, if you have any questions or if you want to just talk about other stuff, just chat. Just say something in chat, and I'll respond. Okay, here we go. Whew. Awakening in the middle of a prodigiously tough snore, and sitting up in the bed to get his thoughts together, Scrooge had no occasion to be told that the bell was again upon the stroke of 1. He felt that he was restored to consciousness in the right nick of time, for the especial purpose of holding a conference with the second messenger dispatched to him through Jacob Marley's intervention. Myth, thank you, you bloody legend. Merry Christmas, and thank you for your support, as always. But finding that he turned uncomfortably cold when they began to wonder which of his curtains this new spectre would draw back, he put them every one aside with his own hands, and laying down again, established a sharp look about all of the bed, for he wished to challenge the spirit on the moment of its appearance, and did not wish to be taken by surprise and made nervous. Gentlemen of the free and easy sort, who plume themselves on being acquainted with a move or two, and being unusually equal to the time of day, express the wide range of their capacity for adventure by observing that they are good for anything from pitch and tossing to manslaughter, between which opposite extremes, no doubt, lies a tolerably wide and comprehensive range of subjects. Without venturing for Scrooge quite as heartily as this, I don't mind calling on you to believe that he was ready for a good broad field of strange appearances, and that nothing between a baby and a rhinoceros would have astonished him much. Let's get that project going. Hell yeah, it will be. And rest assured that once that project does get going, Robert is definitely one of the first people I'm calling, because, hey, I love Rob. I miss doing stuff with Rob and Dredd. We don't talk about it too much, life pulled us in different directions and things like that, but I miss the old gang. That was a good, really good times. I celebrate it all the times and hold it in great fondness in my heart. And the two of the bastards will still always reach out to me and will always get my my undying support. That's just how this works. Yeah. Anyway. Now, being prepared for almost anything, he was not by any means prepared for nothing, and consequently, when the bell struck 1, and no shape appeared, he was taken with a violent fit of trembling. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. A quarter of an hour went by, yet nothing came, and all this time he lay upon his bed, the very core and center of a blaze of ruddy light, which streamed upon it when the clock proclaimed the hour, and which, being the only light there was that very moment, An interesting case of spontaneous combustion, without having the consolation of knowing it. At last, however, he began to think, as you or I would have thought first, for it was always the person, not the predicament, who knows what ought to have been done in it, and would unquestionably have done too, at last. I say, he began to think that the source and secret of this ghostly light might be in the adjoining room, from whence, on further tracing it, it seemed to shine. This idea taking full possession of his mind, he got up softly, and shuffled in his slippers towards the door. The moment Scrooge's hand was on the lock, a strange voice called him by his name, and bade him enter. He obeyed. It was his own room. There was no doubt about that, but it had undergone a surprising transformation. The walls and ceiling were so hung with lively green that it looked a perfect grove, from every part which bright gleaming berries glistened. The crisp leaves of holly and mistletoe and ivy reflected back the light, as if so many little mirrors had been scattered there, and such a mighty blaze went roaring up the chimney as that dull petrification of a hearth had never known in Scrooge's time, or Marley's, or for many, many winter seasons gone. Heaped upon the floor to form some kind of throne were turkeys, geese, game, poultry, brawn, great joints of meat, suckling pigs, long wreaths of sausages, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red-hot chestnuts, steam? Just steam. Oh. Red-hot chestnuts, steam. In easy state upon this couch there sat a jolly giant, glorious to see, who bore the glowing torch in the shape not unlike Plenty's horn, and held it up high up, to shed light on Scrooge as he came peeping through the door. "Come in!" exclaimed the ghost. "Come in and know me better, man." Scrooge entered timidly, and hung his head before his spirit. He was not the dog Scrooge had been, and though the spirit's eyes were clear and kind, he did not like to meet them. "I am the ghost of Christmas Present," said the spirit. "Look upon me." Scrooge reverently did so. It was clothed in one simple green robe or mantle, bordered with white fur. The garment hung so loosely on the figure that its capacious breast were bare, as if disdained to be warded or concealed by any artifice. Its feet, observable beneath an ample fold of garment, were also bare, and on its head it wore no covering other than a holly wreath, set there and there within shining icicles. Its dark brown curls were long and free as its genial face and its sparkling eyes, its open hand and cheery voice, its unconstrained demeanor and its joyful air. Girded round its middle was an antiquated scabbard, but no sword was within, and the ancient sheath was eaten by rust. Also, welcome in, Schooly Eye. Good to see you. Welcome. Please relax, unwind. Merry Christmas if you celebrate, or whichever holiday you happen to. Cheers. I will continue to drink my orange and peach concoction. So good. Okay. "You have never seen the likes of me before," exclaimed the spirit. "Never," Scrooge made to answer it. "Have never walked forth with the younger members of my family? Meaning, for I am very young, my elder brothers born in these later years," pursued the phantom. I don't think I have," said Scrooge. "I'm afraid I have not. Have you had many brothers, spirit?" "More than 1,800, said the ghost. "A tremendous family to provide for," muttered Scrooge. The ghost of Christmas Present rose. "Spirit," said Scrooge submissively, "conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion, and I learnt a lesson which is working now. Tonight, if you had aught to teach me, let me profit by it."
"Touch my robe,"
Scrooge did as he was told, and held it fast. Holly, mistletoe, red berries, ivy, turkey, geese, game, poultry, brown, meats, pigs, sausages, oysters, pies, puddings, fruit, and punch and all vanished instantly. So did the room, the fire, the ruddy glow, the hour of night, and they stood now in the city streets on Christmas morning, where, for the weather was severe, the people made a rough but brisk and not unpleasant kind of music in scraping the snow of the pavements from their dwellings, and from the tops of their houses, whence it was with mad delight to the boys to see it come plumping down onto the road below, and splitting into artificial little snowstorms. Hey, McBluff, thank you so much for the 37-month streak subscription, you bloody legend, you. Have a very safe and happy Christmas with your family back in the good old United States. Enjoy every moment of it, and I hope that your trip back home is going to be equally as plentiful and delightful. Happy 3 years of me being your favorite thorn on my side. Yeah. You are definitely there. Well, you're definitely there. I have so many thorns on my side. But you're definitely one of my favorites. Okay. The house fronted looked black. Sorry, let me try that again. The house fronts looked black enough, and the windows blacker, contrasted with the smooth white sheets of snow upon the roof, and with the dirtier snow upon the ground, which last deposits had ploughed up deep furrows by heavy wheels of carts and wagons, furrows that crossed and recrossed each other hundreds of times over, where the great sheets branched off and made intricate channels, hard to trace in the thick yellow mud and icy waters. The sky was gloomy, and the shorter streets were choked up with dingy mist, half thawed, half frozen, whose heavier particles descended in showers of sooty atoms, as if all the chimneys in Great Britain, by one consent, caught fire and were blazing away to their dear hearts' content. There was nothing very cheerful in the climate or town, and yet there was an air of cheerfulness abroad that the clearest summer air and brightest summer sun may have endeavored to diffuse in vain. For the people who were shoveling away on the housetops were jovial and full of glee, calling out to one another from the parapet, and now and then exchanging a facetious snowball, better-natured missiles far than many a wordy jest, laughing heartily as if it went right, and not less heartily if it went wrong. The poulterer's shop. Let me try that again. Laughing heartily if it went right, and not less heartily if it went wrong. The poulterer's shop was still half open, and the fruiterers were radiant in their glory. There were great round pot-belly baskets of chestnuts, shaped like waistcoats of jolly old gentlemen, lolling at the door and tumbling out into the streets of their apoplectic. I don't know how to say that word. If anyone would like to phonically challenge me, how do I say that? Apoplectic. Tumbling out into the streets in their apoplectic opulence. There were ruddy brown-faced, broad-girthed Spanish onions, shining in the fatness of their growth like Spanish friars, and winking from their shelves in wanton slyness at the girls as they went by, and glanced demurely at the hung-up mistletoe. There were pears and apples clustered high in blooming pyramids. There were bunches of grapes made in the shopkeeper's benevolence to dangle from conspicuous hooks that people's mouths might water gratis as they passed. There were piles of fibrous, mossy brown, and recalling in their fragrance ancient walks among the woods, and pleasant shufflings ankle-deep through the withered leaves. There were Norfolk biffins, squats and swarthies, setting off the yellow and oranges and lemons, and in the great compactness of their juicy person, urgently entreated and beseeched to be carried home in paper bags to be eaten after dinner. The very gold and silver fish set forth among these choice fruits in a bowl, though members of a dull and stagnant-blooded race, appeared to know that there was something going on, and, to a fish, went gasping round and round their little world in slow, passionless excitement. I think I got it right. Apoplectic. 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 Plectic. Plectic? Apoplectic. Oh, apoplectic. Okay, yep, there it is. The plek. Kek. Plek. Apoplectic. Good. Thank you. Much obliged. Christina, Merry Christmas. Yes. Means extremely ignorant. Oh, okay. Nice. Learning is a good thing that DAG does. Where are we at? The grocer! Oh, the grocer. Nearly closed with perhaps 2 shutters down or 1. But through the gaps such a glimpse it was not alone, that the scales descending on the counter made the merry sound, or that the twine and roller parted company so briskly, or that the canisters were rattled up and down like juggling tricks. I think it means extremely indignant. Ooh, okay. Ooh, apoplectic. I will not remember that word, but I'll now have it'll be somewhere in my subconscious. Or even that the blended scents of tea and coffee were so grateful to the nose, or even that the raisins were so plentiful and rare, the sugar as to make the coldest looker-ons feel faint and subsequently bilious. Nor was it that the figs were moist and pulpy, or that the French plums blushed in modest tartness, and from their highly decorated boxes, or that everything was good to eat and in its Christmas dress, but the customers were all so hurried and eager to purchase in their hopeful promise of the day that they tumbled up against each other at the door, crashing their wicker baskets wildly, and left their purchases upon the counter, and came running back to fetch them, and committed hundreds of the like mistakes in the best humor possible, while the grocer and his people were so frank and fresh that the polished hearts which they had fastened their aprons behind may have been their own, worn outside for general inspection, and for Christmas doors to peck should they choose. But soon the steeples called the good people to all, to church and chapel, and away they came, flocking through the streets in their best clothes and with their gayest faces. And the same time there emerged from scores of by-streets, lanes, and nameless turnings innumerable people carrying their dinners to the baker's shop. The sight of these poor revellers appeared to interest the spirit very much, for he stood with Scrooge behind him in a baker's doorway, and taking off the covers as their bearers passed by, sprinkled incense on their dinners from his torch. And it was a very uncommon kind of torch, for once or twice humour was restored directly, for they said it was a shame to quarrel upon Christmas Day, and so it was. God love it, so it was. In the times the bells ceased, and the bakers were shut up. Yet there was a genial shadowing forth of all these dinners, and progress of their cooking in their thawed blotch of wet above each baker oven, where the pavement smoked as if stones were cooking too. I want to point out, Charles Dickens, right? Seriously, first of all, he spends so much time talking about the food, the smells, the plumpness and the ripeness of the fruits in the fruitery and stuff. You know, I'm like, I like this guy. This guy, he's, you know, like he likes food. I like food. It's, you know, I think me and you know, Mr. Dickens, we get on. I think I vibe that. By the way, if you missed the start of the stream, I mentioned I had some peaches and I dumped them into some orange juice. I've now reached the peach level, so you guys get to watch me kind of slurp down some peaches. Sorry. I apologize in advance. There's no delicate way to do this. I kind of made this and didn't think it through, but I'm here now, and this is just where we live. So I'm afraid you're all going to have to buy in at the same level. Great theater of the mind. Hey, Wolfie Plays 1997. Welcome in. Just make good gobble noises. Gooble noises. I'm not going to lie, I'm half expecting I'm just going to choke on one. Anyway. Wolfie Plays, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Michael, I'm the Judge of the Gamer. Welcome in. I do TTRPG streams, and on occasion, just fuck around. That's basically it. I just chill. We play games, we do stuff. That is not a tiny basil, is it? Wait, what is that? Mac? Mac? What is that? Is that a tiny basil? Where did you... Is that a tiny basil? What do you mean it's been an emote for a while? Whose emote? Where has there been a tiny basil? Wait. Hold on. This is just coming to my knowledge. I have not been told of these things. There is a tiny basil! I was not told of such things. Oh, there's a little Oksana. There's a little V with a bonk stick. There's DM Raid. Oh, and there's little Tristan. I didn't know about these emotes. No, I didn't. I didn't get told anything. Wolfie Plays. Hey, DAG, just wanted to say I love the work you do. I love your videos you do on YouTube. You and Guy are huge inspiration why I got to hosting TTRPG. Oh, Wolfie, thank you so much. That is so kind of you. I adore Guy. For those of you who don't know, Guy Slanders, How to Be a Great GM, one of my dearest friends. He's the person who got me into streaming. And I don't mean like in the way that most people are like, oh yes, this person got me into streaming because I watched their YouTube channel. No, he literally dragged me kicking and screaming because I met him. We became really good friends very, very quickly. He invited me to one of his home games and then was like, we should do stuff online. And so he invited me to do Adventures of the Windswift, which is over on his live play channel. And then during that series, he said, you should start your own Twitch channel. And I'm like, okay. And then now I'm here. So literally got me into this. And even going to Gen Con was exactly the same thing. Bastard turned around and said to me, he was like, oh, you know, we're going to go to Gen Con and I'm going to also be going with Janet as well. It'd be really cool if you could come as well. But if you can't, I understand. But you'd be, you know, the only one of us not going. I'm like, you bastard. You know that I'm going to go. So yeah, no, Guy is one of my ride or die. So I love Guy. Guy is amazing and very inspirational. And, you know, if you've learned anything from watching myself or Guy, then it means the world. It makes everything that I do, everything that we do, just all the more important, you know, like, yeah, we don't ask for anything. We don't want anything from people. I mean, the ability to do this as a full-time job is always nice, right? But for me at least, you know, like the knowing that people grow and people learn and people just fall in love in the same way that I did with TTRPGs, that for me is just, I love hearing about that. So thank you for coming here on like the you know, the night before Christmas and telling me that, because that's made my evening. So thank you, Wolfie. I hope you enjoy this, you know, hanging out in my chat and meeting all the cool people that are here. And yeah, just enjoy all the stuff that I do. Yeah, he's so cheeky. He is such a cheeky boy. But I love him to bits. More mess with that DAG team. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, there you go. So yeah, so that was really nice. Plus I've also learned that my character now has an emoji, which I didn't realize. And you know what, it is a very apt one as well. It definitely feels like it. Guy's videos have helped so much with pushing me into DMing and get past the anxiety of it. Yeah, no, absolutely. He is such a wonderful trooper. And I really wish I could play games with him a lot. Excuse me. I wish I could play a lot more games with him, but he keeps moving. He was in South Africa when I first met him. Then he moved to Japan, and then he is now in the UK. So that's where he is at the moment. So, you know, there you go. That's where he's at the moment. So unfortunately, the UK is one of the hardest time zones for me to muck about with, unless I'm up at 2 in the morning. And I think I kind of like leaned away from a lot of the live plays. So we still talk when we can and stuff. But until we have those like meshing like projects, you know, we haven't worked together for a while. But yeah, much like Rob and Dread and stuff like that, he's among those people who I always consider incredibly highly and will always have time, no matter what time it is, to play with them. So yeah. Peaches are fighting back. Yeah, a little bit. It's so crazy how much anxiety we'll feel in the early days. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you know, coming to the idea of GMing, actually, you know what, let's take, we can take a pause here, and, you know, like I said, we're just having a chat stream. starting as a GM is always something intense because, first of all, um, you need to generally have a table of people, and most of the time you're playing with people who are experienced, who know what they're doing. And when you're in that situation, there's this like kind of anxiety of like, are they going to judge me? Are they going to constantly be correcting me? Am I going to do this right? There are so many different uncertainties that lie within those things. Um, Even for myself, when I first started GMing and things, I lent into performance, right? Like I heavily lent into my acting stuff, but it didn't change that like acting was so different to GMing. You know, the improv level married together with like, you know, understanding the rules, understanding a good story. You know, you know, my first games were not great, but the crazy thing is once I pushed through those anxieties, once I kind of like took the time and, you know, sort of accepted my, you know, like that, you know, not every game needed to be perfect. Not every game had to be like a magnum opus, you know, kind of session. It started to get easier and easier. And, you know, it helped really push aside my own anxieties because I tell myself this all the time, you know, um, my last game was the best I could be right then, right? Even if it was a terrible game, it was the best I could do at that time. My next game, it'll be even better because I'll have learned so much from my previous one. And I keep doing that. I am very fortunate to have so many games in my roster, and I make mistakes all the time. You can ask any one of my players. Yeah, DAG makes mistakes all the time. But how do I deal with it? I accept that I'm capable of making mistakes. I learn from my mistakes, and I try to do better. And yeah, it's guided me throughout so many different things. It's why, you know, I know so many different game systems, and I tell people this as well. It's like, well, yeah, people know D&D, people know Pathfinder, people know all this sort of stuff, but I play Through the Breach, I play Call of Cthulhu, I play, you know, like Kids on Bikes and Through the Loop and Sexy Battle Wizards and millions of other different games. And where does that all stem from? It's like because I don't try to 100% memorize any of these games. I learn enough to get me by the basics, and I always keep a quick reference guide as to so I can keep on my feet. And that was something I just learned from just, you know, making mistakes and doing all those sorts of things. Agree. My first game was a Star Wars game. Nice. Yeah, the FFG system is good. I've played once. I haven't actually run that one. Two original players were from D&D. Was really nervous. Now, almost 6 years later, I love it, and I'm disorganized as fuck. Yeah, I love that. But my players don't need to know that. Exactly. Your players don't need to know how disorganized you are, and the players don't need to know how often you steal their ideas when they sit there and go, "Hey guys, what if the nun is a werewolf?" Yeah, yeah. What if the nun was a werewolf? That'd be fucking crazy. Nun is a werewolf. Fucking dope. Done. Yeah. But yes. So good. So much fun. Shortcuts. That's the secret of being GM. Learn shortcuts. But hey, Wolfie, in case you didn't know, because I've been trying to get people obsessed with it, after I did my stuff with Guy, I joined another crew. So I'm now actually a member over with Careful Cantrip. I should really get a thing for Careful Cantrip, shouldn't I? Boom, there it is. Yeah. Shortcuts and piracy. Yes. Well, here's the thing. Okay, so I'll go to that in a second. But yeah, before I forget, go check out Careful Cantrip. So I'm a cast member in that group. So I'm a regular cast member. And we just wrapped up about a month or so with our season 2. Season 2 was amazing, and it's incredible. And if you get a chance to watch it, highly recommend it. Probably, it's one of my most challenging characters because I haven't really done a romantic-based character in any online games. So this was actually my first one. And if you like that sort of thing and you like that kind of intense roleplay, check it out. See what you think. Let me know. You know, I'd love to hear about it. And yeah, join the Discord and you know, stay in touch. Boom, there it is. Because season 3 is coming up. Now, season 3 has nothing to do with season 2. It's a completely standalone series. So, I mean, I don't know how much I can reveal, but yeah, season 1 was in the same world as season 2. and you know, season 3 will be like a brand new show, something you know thing. Drop a follow real quick so don't forget since it's over 6 a.m. 6 a.m. Whoa, what? Oh, hold on, wait. What are you doing? What are you up? Have you not gone to bed, or are you just up getting ready to start your day? This is very important for me, mostly because you know, as a break, BRB. My first game was an absolute mess. Got some rules wrong. Kept getting corrected by players, not in a helpful way. That's hard. Oh, ad break. Oh wait, hold on. You know what? Let me fix that. Hold on 1 second. There you go. Do the thing. Hold on. Ugh, why is that not working? Doesn't want to do the thing I want to tell it. Sorry, bear with me. Doing a thing. DAG is doing a thing. Ba-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Here we go. Oh, there we go. It worked. Good. Aha! Oh, because Christina did it. Christina beat me to it. Christina. Well done. Kudos. Hats off to you. You've won the prize. You beat me. Felt foolish then. That's okay. Much appreciated. Thank you, Christina, for the gifted sub to our new friend. But yes, as I was beaten to a gifted sub, but it's on my own channel. I can't believe it. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Christina. Okay. So as I was saying, yeah, sometimes having players who don't know how to. Okay, so this is what we call the know-it-all, right? Like when I'm a player at a table. I feel like we're going to a different tangent here. We'll come back to the story in a second. When I'm a player on the table, I have to take a lot of time to go, okay, I'm not going to say anything about the rules unless someone asks me. I'm going to work within the rules that my GM sets, and I'm just going to go with it, even if the rules are incorrect. Unless the rules are made incorrectly and it, like, will ruin the game in some way, like if someone's about to get wiped out and it's like, oh, actually, he does get a saving throw, or something like that. That's when I'll intervene, but at no other point will I do that. Yeah, and you know it's hard, you know, because table dynamics is something they don't teach. But hear me out here. But rumor on the mill is next year DAG is gonna have a lot of different stuff because, let's face it, you know, money's tight. That's how it is. Money's tight. I'm not lying. So next year, among the things I'm gonna be doing is I am gonna be trying to publish in some way, shape, or form a Dungeons and Dragons or a TTRPG masterclass, ranging from how to approach first contact with a system, to managing your tables, to managing behaviors, to little things, affirmations, stuff like that. So I'm going to be hopefully trying to work on something like that next year and make it like a subscription service. So basically it'll be kind of like Patreon, but probably not Patreon. But yeah, there'll be videos for sure. Hey, Roverjax, thank you so much for the lurk, you bloody legend, you. Yeah, so it'll be that. Yeah, so hopefully we'll do that. Boom. Phil away first game was a bit of a disaster. I had 2 players who were friends. They ended up being the problem children of the classroom. Didn't break the game per se, but my table rules don't be assholes, basically. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's my rule as well. I seriously don't have any other rules on the table apart from do not play this game at the expense of other people at my table. Even me as a GM. That's it. Bad mannerisms rule, so eventually managed to break every single one of them. Jesus. Yeah, that's rough. That is super rough. Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely will, Myth. Those ones are good. They like soaked all the orange juice. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to publish it or where I'm going to publish it. So if you do have any ideas of where that's a good idea, let me know. I might do it as a podcast, but ideally, and I know this is gonna sound, you know, like, but I need to live. I have rent. Well, not rent. I have a mortgage, but yeah, I need to find a way to monetize it reasonably well. Because the thing is I'm still one of the most experienced GMs in the world. I play 10 to 15 games a week, and I have done so for the last 10 years. So, you know, I want to capitalize on that, have something that's just going to be there that people can access when they need it. I don't want to have something that's like, oh yeah, pay my subscription and then like, you know, you get this thing. It's like, no, cool. One-time payment, boom, you're done. Here is like a full like course that you can take. And at the end of it, fuck it, here's a certificate as well. Why not? You have graduated from the school of Dagosity or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, that's next year DAG plans. Next year DAG plans. But yeah. Myth, don't be the asshole is the most simple rule. Yeah, don't be the asshole. The rules are very simple. No sexism, no racism, unless it's under an RP thing for the race out. Like, it's not like dwarves and, like, dwarves hate elves, you know, etc., you know, stuff like that. Yep. Somehow they didn't get it. Yeah. Kickstarter, maybe? Oof, no. Look, I mean, as much as I'd love to do a Kickstarter is one of those things that I want to approach only when I've got a team. For those of you who don't know, it's just me. It's just me. Start a YouTube channel revamp. I'd love to do that. That's also been on the cards and things I've talked about. But again, same problem as the Kickstarter, is it's just me. I don't have a team. I don't have a social media person. And I run so many games over the weeks that I literally, and I mean this very literally, I do not have time to actually manage my own channel. And you guys have seen this firsthand. It's just how it is. My goal this year is to, or next year, is to hopefully make enough to hire someone part-time to be able to help manage all that sort of stuff so that I can crack open that ceiling and produce more content and focus a lot heavily on like, yeah, cool, let's make this stuff because this stuff is now worth the time and is giving people what they want and what they need. So yeah. Lots of cool stuff. Well, you know, if you are patrons on my channel, there is a video that will be coming out before the end of the year or on New Year's-ish, which will cover a lot of this stuff. I'm only talking about it now because because apparently I have the focus of a child. Brittany! Brittany! Hi, Brett. How are ya? Good to see you, bloody legend. Thank you so much for bringing your wonderful and amazing community here. Guys, if you don't know, my friend Britt is a fellow performer, a lovely and incredible musician, and an all-around fantastic talent. Please go check out Brittany over on their channel. What were you up to today? How was your evening? Merry Festivesmas. What were you doing? Let's have a look. Brittany Van Spy. Playing Spider-Man. I knew you were playing Spider-Man. Which means you're the best of kind of people. Spider-Man is the best of kind of people. Yeah. There you go. So yeah, go check out Brit. Got taken aside after the session, tried to talk to them, but they just argued. Yeah, typical. Look. Yep. Session 0, session 1. Yeah. Look, I mean, don't forget. Sorry, just one last thing. And by the way, Britt, we are all reading A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. We are also just chatting about D&D and TTRPGs in general. We're talking about the topic of first-time GMs and negative experiences with players at the table. One thing I always tell my GMs, and this is for every single GM out there. This is my go-to. Okay, this is, if you take no advice from anything I say, this is. Oh wow, yeah, Resident Evil, good game. If you take nothing away from what I have to say, this is the only thing I have in regards to this. You as a GM are a worthy person. You are someone who does not need to take the negativity that your players at your table may fester and try to bring to that table, because sometimes they will. You yourself are entitled to your own mental wellness and your own sense of self-satisfaction. Now, sure, you might make mistakes, and there are ways to accept and deal with constructive criticism. But if people are being problems and they refuse to be civil about it or refuse to try and solve it, you're well within your right to tell them to fuck off. That's the Aussie in me. Just tell them, fuck off. You. If you can't sort this shit out, you're not coming back next week. Fuck off. If every time you come in here, you do nothing but give me fucking stress, fuck off. I don't need this. I want to have a great game. I'm here to have fun. This game is for my joy and my pleasure. That is not happening while you two are at each other's fucking throats. That's it. I know that's really harsh. I know that's really heavy-handed, because some people, they need some coaxing, and some people, they have friends. But I tell people this all the time. I don't go out for beers with the people I play D&D with. I'm sure some people do. But what that means to say is that the people I play D&D with aren't always from the same friend group that I have. I have people who I really want to play D&D with, people who I really want to get pissed with, people who I really want to watch movies with. These are all different people, and that is okay too. Also, by the by, if you need to take a moment, take a break in the middle of the game. If you see people getting heated up, just say, hey guys, we're going to take a quick 5-10 minute break. Just get up, stretch your legs, go outside, have a smoke, do whatever. You know, grab yourself a drink. I just need to prep the next little bit, and we'll keep on going from there. perfectly fine for you to do that in the middle of a game. And even then, you can turn to that player and be like, "Hey, dude, you doing okay? You seem a little bit worked up. Seem a little bit tense. You all right? Do we need to like put a pin in something? Do you want to approach it? No, cool. All right, sweet. That's it. That is okay. A lot of GMs think you have to power through the entire session, but you don't. Don't ever feel like you have to. All right, there we go. That's what I have to say. Like to cause stress of characters. Well, that is kind of our job, Revan. I mean, we are the obstacles. We are the stress. We are the epitomes of the struggle that the players have to go through. But ultimately, we are also the biggest arbiters of their success and their fans and things like that too. I always pleased if they have any feedback. Yeah, feedback's always good. Nope, as a new player, I wish the GM had for my long campaign would tell me the players were being shits at the table and pull their heads in. Yeah, seriously. That's it. If people are making the game uncomfortable and unfun for other players, same thing. Yeah, take care of your peeps, talk, and if the talk doesn't work, the door's right there. 100%. TPK. Yeah, no. Absolutely. Communication is key. Communication is always key. That's it. That's the secret. Secret of life. Secret of life, baby. All right. What say we continue reading, because if we don't, I'm gonna get swept up. But I love this talk. This is exactly what we're about. So if you guys have any other things you want to talk about, we'll throw it in chat. But I need to get through more of this chapter. So we're in the middle of chapter 3, which is the Ghost of Christmas Present. We are in the middle of the streets. So there you go. Ended up leaving a table because the players would yell at each other. Oof, and the GM would just let them. Yeah, that sucks. That sucks, Britt. Sorry you went through that. Well, I'm glad that you've had a good time at my table, so. So, despite the fact that Carrie apparently wanted to kill you for no reason, so, there's that. But you were very suspicious. But also, Carrie could have eaten up. I don't know. Anyway. Oh, I do have their Hero Forge minis as well. That's kind of cool. Anyway. Lore Mistress, welcome in. Thank you so much for bringing your community here. Guys, welcome in. My name is Mark of the Dead Aussie Gamer. This is my place. This is my face. We're reading A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens and talking some TTRPG stuff. Now, normally I do TTRPG stuff on my channel, but, on occasion I just do what I want because this is my channel. I do what the fuck I want. But yeah, welcome. What were you guys doing? I hope you guys were having a great night. For those of you who celebrate, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all these other things. The Lore Mistress, what were you up to today? Boom, there it is. Just chatting, just chilling. What were you chilling about? What were you chatting about? Chatting TTRPGs, awesome. I love it. Well, while I'm reading, the chat is currently talking about first-time GMs who specifically allow their players to argue at the table. If you would like to discuss it, please feel free. I'm going to keep reading, and then, we'll come back to discussion a little bit. So it's like, read, discuss, read, talk, that. All right, so. In time, the bells ceased, and the bakers were shut up. And yet there was a genial shadowing forth of all these dinners, and the progress of their cooking in the thawed blotch of wet above each baker's oven, where the pavement smoked as if the stones were cooking too. "Is there a particular flavour that you sprinkle from your torch?" asked Scrooge. "There is, my own." "Would it apply to any kind of dinner this day?" asked Scrooge. "To any kindly given. To a poor one most." "Why to a poor one most?" asked Scrooge. "Well, that is because it's needed the most." "Spirit," said Scrooge after a moment's thought, "I wonder you, of all beings in the many worlds about us, should desire to cramp these people's opportunity of innocent enjoyment." "I?" cried the spirit. "You would deprive them of their means of dining every 7th day, often the only day in which they can be said to dine at all," said Scrooge. "Wouldn't you?" "I?" cried the spirit. "You seek to close the places on the 7th day," said Scrooge, "and it comes to the same thing." "I seek!" exclaimed the spirit. Forgive me if I am wrong. It has been done in your name, or at least in that of your family," said Scrooge. "There are some upon this earth of yours," returned the spirit, "who lay claim to know us. and who do their deeds of passion, pride, ill will, hatred, envy, bigotry, and selfishness in our name, who are as strange to us and all of our kith and kin as if they had never lived. Remember that, and charge their doings on themselves, not us." Scrooge promised he would, and they went on, invisible as they had been before, into the suburbs of the town. It was a remarkable quality of the ghost, which Scrooge had observed at the baker's, that notwithstanding his giant size, he could accommodate himself to any place with ease, and that he stood beneath a low roof quite as gracefully and like a supernatural creature, as if it were possible he could have done in any lofty hall. And perhaps it was with the pleasure the good spirit had in showing off his powers of his, or else his own kind, generous, hearty nature, and his sympathy with all poor men, that led him straight to Scrooge's clerk. For there he went, and took Scrooge with him, holding on to his robe, and on to the threshold of the door the spirit smiled and stopped to bless Bob Cratchit's dwelling with a sprinkle of his torch. Think of that. Bob had but 15 bob a week for himself. He pocketed on Saturdays but 15 copies of his Christian name, and yet the ghost of Christmas present blessed his four-cornered room and his house. Then up rose Miss Cratchit, Cratchit's wife, dressed out but poorly in a twice-turned gown, but brave in ribbons, which are cheap and made goodly, show for a sixpence. And she laid the cloth, assisted by Belinda Cratchit, second of her daughters, also brave in ribbons, while Master Peter Cratchit plunged a fork into the saucepan of potatoes, and getting the corners of his monstrous shirt-collar, Bob's private property conferred upon his son and heir in honor of the day, into his mouth, rejoiced to find himself so gallantly attired and yearning to show his linen in the fashionable parks. And now 2 smaller Cratchits, a boy and a girl, came tearing in, screaming that the outside bakers that they had smelt the goose, claiming that outside the bakers they had smelled the goose and known for it their own. And basking in luxurious thoughts of sage and onion, these young Cratchits danced about the table and exalted Master Peter Cratchit to the skies, while, not proud, although his collar nearly choked him, blew the fire until the slow potatoes bubbled up, loudly knocking at the saucepan lid to be let out and peeled. "Oh, whatever have you got there, father, then?" said Mr. Cratchit. "And your brother, Tiny Tim, and Martha weren't as late as Christmas Day by half an hour." "Here's Martha, mother," said the girl, appearing in the smoke. "Here's Martha, mother," cried 2 young Cratchits. "Hurrah! There's such a goose, Martha." "Why, bless your heart alive, my dears, how late you are," said Mrs. Cratchit, kissing her a dozen times and taking off her shawl and bonnet, for with her officious zeal. "We'd a deal to finish up at work last night," replied the girl, "and had to clear away this morning, mother." "Well, never mind that, so long as you're come," said Mrs. Cratchit. "Sit ye down before the fire, my dear, and have a warm, Lord bless you." "Oh, no, there's father coming too," cried 2 Cratchits. They were everywhere at once. "Hide, Martha, hide!" So Martha hid herself, and in came little Bob, the father, with at least 3 feet of comforter extruding from the fringe of his hanging down before it. At least 3 feet of comforter, exclusive of the fringe hanging down before him, and his threadbare clothes donned up and brushed to look seasonable, and Tiny Tim upon his shoulder. Alas for Tiny Tim! He bore a little crutch, and had his limbs supported by an iron frame. "Why, where's our Martha?" cried Bob, looking around. "Not coming," said Mrs. Cratchit. "Not coming," said Bob, with a sudden declination in his high spirits, for he had been Tim's blood horse all the way from church, and had come home rampant. "Not coming on Christmas Day." Martha didn't like to see him disappointed. If it was only in joke, she came out prematurely from behind the closet and ran into his arms, while the two young Cratchits hustled Tiny Tim and bore him off to the wash-house that he might hear the pudding singing in the copper. "And how did little Tim behave?" asked Mrs. Cratchit, when she had rallied Bob on his credulities. And Bob, he hugged his daughter to his heart's content. "Ah, as good as gold," said Bob, "and better. Somehow he gets thoughtful sitting by himself so much, and thinks the strangest things you ever heard. He told me coming home that he hoped people saw him in church because he was a cripple, and it might be pleasant to them to remember upon Christmas Day who made lame beggars walk and blind man see." Bob's voice was tremulous when he told them this, and he trembled more when he said that Tiny Tim was growing up strong and hardy. His active little crutch was hard upon the floor, and back came Tiny Tim before another word was spoken, escorted by his brothers and sisters to his stool before the fire, while Bob, turning up his cuff, as if, poor fellow, they were capable of being made more shabby, compounded some hot mixture in a jug with gin and lemon, and stirred it round and put it on the hob to simmer. Master Peter and the two ubiquitous young Cratchits went to fetch the goose, with which they would soon return in high procession. Hey, thank you so much to our anonymous gifter. Mr. or Miss or whatever's in between. Anonymous gifter, thank you for your gifted subs to Scots in Dakota, Vault Hunter Bundle, Reading Aloud, Odd Bandicoot, Sunset Disco. To those of you who have gotten the lotto on the gifted subs, guys, please enjoy the lovely complimentary badges that come along with those subscriptions. Also, don't forget that simply watching my channel, you earn channel points, which can be used for my live play tabletop role-playing games throughout any of these different things. And now that you're a subscriber, you're going to be earning them at an increased rate. So hey, that's really cool. Please enjoy. And of course, much obliged to you as well, our anonymous gifter. All this is making me think about initial player table. Giddy out. Just gonna read through that. Family sessions are actually really good. I do like family tabletop RPG sessions. Sadly, my family doesn't play. And the friends that I know and I've made are all gamers, and that's how we became friends. So none of my friends who I knew before then actually played. So there you go. Congrats to the sub winners. Yes. Also, welcome, Lucretius. Another anonymous gift bomb. Guys, thank you so much. You bloody kind legends. This is, of course, very, very kind. Thank you for the gifted subs to Calistar74, to Robert Hartley GM, the bastard's not already subbed. We love you, Rob. To Ventorum. Sorry, let me try again. Ventorium. I love that name. That's a really cool name. To the steam-powered scoundrels, our bloody friends from over in the Through the Breach Kingdom, and to Monkey Swag 24. Welcome in, thank you, and please enjoy your gifted subs, as well as, of course, the lovely bonuses that come along with it. There are also a bunch of channel sub emojis, which I really should do the thing more. You met Rob the other day? Hey, nice. Yeah, Rob's a good bloke. I love Rob. Rob and I have been good friends for some time, which is, yeah, always great. Yeah, Rob's a champ. All right, yeah. I'm getting all emotional. I'm like talking about this the freaking thing. It's like feeling like in a good spirit for sure. Okie doke. Where was I at? Yes, here we go. Such a bustle ensued that you might have thought the goose the rarest of all birds, a feathered phenomenon to which a black swan was a matter of course, and in truth it was something like that in this house. Well, to be fair, black swans are everywhere where I'm from, so, there you go. Yeah. Mrs. Cratchit made the gravy, readied beforehand in a little saucepan, hissing hot. Master Peter mashed the potatoes with incredible vigor. Miss Belinda sweetened up the applesauce. Martha dusted the hot plates. Bob took Tiny Tim beside him in a tiny corner at the table. and the two young Cratchits set the chairs for everyone, not forgetting themselves, and mounting guard upon their post, crammed spoonfuls into their mouths, lest they should shriek for the goose before their turn came to be helped. At last the dishes were set on, and grace was said. It was succeeded by a breathless pause, as Mrs. Cratchit, looking slowly all along the carved knife, prepared to plunge it into the breast. But when she did, and when the long-expected gush of stuffing issued forth, one murmur of delight rose around all the board, and even Tiny Tim, excited by the two young Cratchits, beat on the table with his handle on the knife, and feebly cried, "Hurrah!" There never was such a goose. Bob said he didn't believe that there ever was such a goose cooked. Its tenderness and flavor, size and cheapness were the theme of universal admiration. Eked out by the applesauce and mashed potatoes, it was a sufficient dinner for the whole family. Indeed, as Mrs. Cratchit said with great delight, surveying one small atom of a bone upon the dish, that they hadn't ate it all at last. Yet every one had had enough, and the youngest Cratchits in particular were steeped in sage and onion to the eyebrow. But now, the plates being changed by Miss Belinda, Mrs. Cratchit left the room alone, too nervous to bear witness, to take up the pudding up and bring it in. Suppose it should not be enough? Suppose it should break in turning out? Suppose someone should have gotten over the wall of the backyard and stolen it while they were merry with the goose, a supposition which the two young Cratchits became livid. All sorts of horrors were supposed. Halloo! A great deal of steam. The pudding was out of the copper, and a smell like a washing day. That was the cloth, a smell like an eating house, and a pastry cook next door to each other, with a laundress next to that. It was, of course, the pudding. In half a minute, Mrs. Cratchit entered, flushed, but smiling proudly with the pudding, like a speckled cannonball, so hard and firm, blazing in half of quartern of ignited brandy, and bedighted with Christmas holly stuck atop. "Oh, what a wonderful pudding," Bob Cratchit said, and calmly, too, that he regarded it as the greatest success achieved by Mrs. Cratchit since their marriage. Mrs. Cratchit said that now the weight was off her mind, she would confess that she had had her doubts of the quality of the flour. Everyone had something to say about it, but nobody said or thought it was anything at all. No one said or thought it was a small pudding at all for a large family. It would have been flat heresy to do so. Any Cratchit would have blushed to hint at such a thing. At last the dinner was done. The cloth was cleared, the hearth was swept, and the fire made up. The compound in the jug being tasted and considered perfect, apples and oranges were put upon the table and shoved full of chestnuts on the fire. And shovelful. So they had shovels filled with chestnuts that they put onto the fire. So they had apple oranges. I thought for a second they put chestnuts in apples. That was like, is that good? I don't know. I've never done this. Anyway, then all the Cratchit family drew around the hearth in what Bob Cratchit called a circle, meaning a half a one, and Bob Cratchit's elbow stood the family display of glass, 2 tumblers and a custard cup without a handle. He held the hot stuff from the jug, however, as well as the goblets would have done, and Bob served it out with beaming looks while the chestnuts on the fire sputtled and crackled noisily. Then Bob proposed, "A Merry Christmas to all of us, my dears, and God bless us." To which the family re-echoed, "God bless us, everyone," said Tiny Tim, the last of all. He sat very close to his father's side upon his little stool. Bob withheld his withered little hand in his, as if he loved the child and wished to keep him by his side, and dreaded that he might be taken from him. "Spirit," said Scrooge, with an interest he had never felt before, "tell me if Tiny Tim will live." "I see a vacant seat," replied the ghost, "in the poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die." No, No, said Scrooge. Oh, no, kind spirit, say that he will be spared. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, none other of my race, returned the ghost, will find him here. What then? If he be like to die, he had better do it soon and decrease the surplus population. Scrooge hung his head to hear his own words quoted by the spirit, and was overcome with penitence and grief. Man, said the ghost, if man you be in heart, not adamant, forbear that wicked cant until you have discovered what the surplus is, and where it is. Will you decide what men shall live, what men shall die? It may be that in the sight of heaven you are you are more worthless and less fit to live than millions like this poor man's child. O God, to hear the insect on the leaf pronouncing on the too much life among his hungry brothers in the dust. Scrooge bent before the ghost's rebuke, and trembling cast his eyes upon the ground, but he raised them speedily on hearing his own name. Mr. Scrooge, said Bob. I'll give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast. Founder of the feast, indeed, cried Mrs. Cratchit, reddening. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to be feasting on, and I hope he'd have a good appetite for it. My dear, said Bob, the children, it's Christmas Day. It should be Christmas Day, I'm sure, she said, on which one drinks the health of such an odious, stingy, hard, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he is, Robert. No one knows it better than you do, poor fellow. My dear, Bob mildly answered, Christmas Day. I'll drink to his health for your sake, and the day's, says Mrs. Cratchit, but not for his. Long life to him. A Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. He'll be very merry and very happy, I have no doubt. Are you trying to exercise my channel? I love the little emotes. I love the one of you just lying there. I should do one like that. That's very cute. I have moments like that. I don't know what the other one is. Looks like you're eating a pie. Or noodles. They're cute. They're adorable. I love them. I don't know if you saw. My Careful Cantrip character has an emoji now. Boom. There he is. It's popcorn. Ah, there you go. More DAG emotes. Yeah, I'll be making some more DAG emotes. I will get some more DAG emotes made. I promise. Yes, all of the DAG emotes. Yeah, so cute. I feel like that's my life, though. Anyway, I don't know who made them. I gotta talk to Raina. It's like I didn't even realize we had emotes. Maybe she told me about them. Maybe she didn't. Okay. Anyway. The children drank the toast after her. It was the first of their proceedings, which they had no heartiness. Tiny Tim drank it last of all, but didn't care twopence for it. Scrooge was the ogre of the family. The mention of his name cast a dark shadow on the party, which was not dispelled for the full 5 minutes. After it had passed, they were 10 times merrier than before, for the mere relief of Scrooge the baleful being done with. Bob Cratchit told them how he had a situation in his eye for Master Pete, which would bring him in, if obtained, full 5-6 weekly, and the two young Cratchits laughed tremendously at the idea of Peter's being a man of business, and Peter himself looked thoughtfully at the fire from between his collars, as if he were deliberating what particular investments he should favor when he came into the recipient of that bewildering income. Martha, who was a poor apprentice at a milliner's. What is a milliner's? What's this? Those are a mix of being sad and loving the storytelling. Ah, thank you. Yeah, what is a milliner's? I don't know what a milliner is. Apprentice milliner. Then told them what kind of work she had to do, and how many hours she worked at a stretch, and how she meant to lie abed tomorrow morning for a good long rest. Tomorrow being a holiday, she passed at home. Also how she had seen a countess and a lord some days before, and how the lord was about as just about as tall as Peter. At which Peter pulled up his collar so high that you couldn't have seen his head if you had been there. All this time the chestnuts and the jug went round and by they had a song about a lost child traveling in the snow, from Tiny Tim, who had a plaintive little voice and sang it very well indeed. There was nothing of high marks in this. They were not a handsome family. They were not a well-dressed family. Their shoes were far from being waterproof, and their clothes were scanty. And Peter might have known, and very likely did, the inside of a pawnbroker's. But they were happy, grateful, pleased with one another, and content with the time. And when they faded and looked happier yet in the bright sprinklings of the Spirit's torch at the parting, Scrooge had his eye upon them, and especially on Tiny Tim until last. A person who sells women's hats. Oh, I see. So a haberdasher is a person who makes hats, or gentleman's hats maybe, and a milliner is a woman's hat. Interesting. By the time it was getting dark, and snowing pretty heavily, and as Scrooge and the Spirit went along the streets, the brightness of the roaring fire in the kitchen parlors and all sorts of rooms were wonderful. Here the flickering blaze showed the preparations for a cozy dinner, with hot plates baking through and through before the fire, and deep red curtains ready to be drawn to shut out the cold and darkness. There all the children of the houses were running out into the snow to meet their married sisters, brothers, cousins, uncles, aunts, and to be the first to greet them. Here again were shadows upon the window blinds of guests assembling, and there were a group of handsome girls, all hooded and fur boots, and chatting once and all, tripped lightly off to some near neighbor's house, where woe upon the single man who saw them enter, artful witches. They knew it all in a glow. But if you had judged from the number of people on their way to friendly gatherings, you might have thought that no one was at home to give them welcome. When they got here instead, every house expected company, and piling up its fires half chimney high, blessings on it, and how the ghost exulted, how it bared its breadth of breast, and opened its capacious palm, and floating on, outpouring with a generous hand its bright and harmless mirth onto the evening. Everywhere, somewhere, someone laughed out loudly as the Spirit passed through the little kenned the lamplighter that he had in any company but Christmas. And now, without a word of warning from the ghost, they stood upon a bleak and deserted moor, where monstrous masses of rude stones were cast about, and thought it were a burial place of giants. And a water spread itself wheresoever it listed, or would have done so, but for the frost which had held it prisoner, and nothing grew but moss and furze, and a coarse, rank grass. Down in the west the setting sun had left a streak of fiery red, which glared upon the desolation in an instant like a sullen eye, and frowning lower yet, was the lost in the thick gloom of night. "What is this place?" asked Scrooge. "A place where miners live, who labor in the bowels of the earth," returned the spirits. "But they know me. See?" A light shone from the window of a hut, and swiftly they advanced towards it. Passing through the wall of mud and stone, they found a cheerful company assembled round a glowing fire, an old man and woman, with their children and their children's children, and another generation beyond that, all decked out gaily in their holiday attire. The old man, in a voice that seldom rose above the howling of the wind upon the barren waste, was singing them a Christmas song. It had been a very old song from when he was a boy, and from time to time they all joined in the chorus. So surely they raised their voices, the old man got quite blithe and loud, and so surely as they stopped, his vigour sank again. The spirit did not tarry here, but bade that Scrooge hold his robe, and passing on above the moor, sped whither? Not to see. To see? To Scrooge's horror, he looked back and saw the last of land, a frightful range of rocks behind them, and his ears were deafened by the thundering water as it rolled and roared and raged among the dreadful caverns as it had worn and fiercely tried to undermine the earth. Built upon the dismal reef of sunken rock, some leagues or so from shore, on which the water chafed and dashed, a wild year though there stood a solitary lighthouse. Great heapings of seaweed clung to its base, and storm birds, borne on the wind, one might suppose, as a seaweed of the water, rose and fell about it. Like the waves, they skimmed. Hey, Avarian, good to see you. Insight bonus. Okay, insight check. Here's some insight. Your dice, no matter how expensive they are incredibly prone to fortune. Luck is a real thing, and there are ways to bless your dice. There are ways to superstitiously conduct rituals that will get your dice to roll better. People will tell you it's not the case. People will tell you that cheap dice are just as good as expensive ones. But trust me, every dice is different. Price doesn't matter. Every dice has a vibe, and you need to find yours. That is my insight. There you go. Also, I hope you're well, Avarian. Okay. But even here, two men who watched the light had made a fire that through the loophole in the thick stone walls shed rays of brightness out upon the awful sea. Joining their horny hands over the rough table at which they sat, they wished each other a Merry Christmas in their can of grog, and one of them, the elder too, with his face all damaged and scarred from the hard weather, as a figurehead of an old ship might have been, struck up a sturdy song that was like a gale in and of itself. Yes, agreed, Avarian, 100%. But again the ghost sped on, above the black seas, heaving on and on, until being far away, as he told Scrooge, from any shore they lighted upon the ship. They stood beside the helmsman at the wheel, the lookout on the bow, the officers who had watched the dark ghostly figures in several stations, but every man among them hummed a Christmas tune, or had a Christmas thought, or spoke below his breath to his companions of some bygone Christmas day, with homeward hopes belonging to it. And every man aboard, waking, sleeping, good or bad, had kinder words for one another on that day than any other day within that year, and had shared some extent in festivities, and remembered those he cared for at a distance, and had known that they delighted to remember him. It was a great surprise to Scrooge, while listening to the moaning of the wind, and thinking that what a solemn thing it was to move through the lonely darkness over an unknown abyss whose depths were secret and profound as death. It was a great surprise to Scrooge, while thus engaged, to hear a hearty laugh. It was a much greater surprise to Scrooge to recognize it as his own nephew, to find himself now in a bright, dry, gleaming room, with the spirit standing smiling by his side, and looking at the same nephew with an approving affability. "Ha ha ha!" laughed Scrooge's nephew. "Ha ha ha ha! If you should happen by any unlikely chance to know a man more blessed in laugh than Scrooge's nephew, all I can say is I should like to know him too. Introduce him to me, and I'll cultivate his acquaintance. It is a fair, even-handed, noble adjustment of things, that while there is an infectiousness in disease and sorrow, there is nothing in this world so irresistibly contagious as laughter and good humor." When Scrooge's nephew laughed in this way, holding his sides, rolling his head, twisting his face into the most extravagant contortions, Scrooge's niece by marriage laughed as heartily as he. And their assembled friends, not being a bit behindhand, roared out lustily, "Ha ha 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 ha! He said that Christmas was a humbug, as I live," cried Scrooge's nephew. "He believes it too." "More the shame on him, Fred," said Scrooge's niece indignantly. Bless those women. They never do anything by halves. They are always in their earnest. She was very pretty, exceedingly pretty, with a dimpled, surprisingly looking capital face, a ripe little mouth that seemed to be made to be kissed, and as no doubt it was, all kinds of good little dots about her chin that melted into one another when she laughed, and the sunniest pair of eyes you'd ever seen in a little creature's head. Although she was what you would call although she was what, let me try that again. Although she was what you would have called provoking, although she was what you would have called provoking, but satisfactory too. Oh, perfectly satisfactory. He is a comical old fellow, said Scrooge's nephew. That's the truth, and not so pleasant as he might be. However, his offences carry their own punishment, and I have nothing to say against him. I'm sure he's very rich, Fred, hinted Scrooge's niece. At least you always tell me so. What of that, my dear? Said Scrooge's nephew. His wealth is of no use to him. He don't do any good with it. He doesn't make himself comfortable with it. He hasn't the satisfaction of thinking that he's ever going to benefit us with it. I have no patience with him, observed Scrooge's niece. Scrooge's niece's sister and all the other ladies expressed the similar opinion. Oh, I have, said Scrooge's nephew. I feel sorry for him. I couldn't be angry with him even if I tried. Who suffers by his ill whims? Himself, always. Here he has taken into his head to dislike us, and he won't come to dine with us. What's the consequence? He don't lose much of the dinner. Indeed, I think he loses a very good dinner, interrupted Scrooge's niece. Everyone else at the same time said the same, and they must be allowed to have been Let me try that again. Everyone else said the same, and they must have been allowed to be competent judges, because they had just had dinner, and, with dessert upon the table, were clustered round the fire by lamplight. Well, I'm very glad to hear it, said Scrooge's nephew. But I haven't great faith in these younger housekeepers. What do you say, Topper? Topper had clearly had his eye upon one of Scrooge's niece's sisters, for he had answered that a bachelor was a wretched outcast who had no right to express an opinion on the subject, whereas Scrooge's niece's sister, the plump one with the lace tucker, not the one with the rose blush. Oh, do go on, Fred, said Scrooge's niece, clapping her hands. He never finishes what he's beginning to say. He's such a ridiculous fellow. Scrooge's nephew revelled in another laugh, as it was impossible to keep the infection off, though the plump sister tried hard to do with it aromatic vinegar. His example was unanimously followed. I don't know what that means. All right, if anyone can translate what the hell this means. This is the line. Boom, there it is. If anyone can tell me what it means, I would like to know. What does it mean? All right, there we go. Scrooge. Sometimes it's not the dice; it's where you're rolling. That's fair. Smell of vinegar sounds like, yeah. But what is it? What is she trying to say about it? Like, does she say the food's bad? Given I roll dice, it gives my blue rather than red. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Red dice. It's always me. All right. I was only going on to say, said Scrooge's nephew, that the consequence of his taking a dislike to us and not making merry with us is, as I think, that he loses some pleasant moments, which do him no harm. I'm sure he loses pleasanter companions than he can find in his own thoughts, either in his mouldy old office or his dusty chambers. I mean to give him the same chance every year, whether he likes it or not, for I pity him. He may rail at Christmas till he dies, but he can't help but thinking better of it. I defy him. If he finds me going there in good temper year after year and saying, Uncle Scrooge, how are you? If it only puts him in the vein to leave his poor clerk £50, then that's something. I think I shook him yesterday. It was their turn to laugh now at the notion of shaking Scrooge, but being thoroughly good-natured and not much caring what they laughed at, so they laughed anyway, he encouraged them in their merriment and passed the bottle joyously. After tea, they had some music, for they were a musical family, and knew that they were about when they sung a glee or catch. I assure you, especially Topper, who could growl away in the bass like any good one, and never swelled the large vein in his forehead or get red in the face over it. Scrooge's niece played well upon the harp, and played upon it other simple tunes in the air, a mere nothing you might learn to whistle in a minute or two, which had been familiar to the child who had fetched Scrooge from the boarding school, as it had been reminded by the ghost of Christmas past. When this strain of music sounded, all things that the ghost had shown him came upon his mind, and he softened more and more at the thought of what he could have been listening to often years ago. He might have cultivated the kindness of life for his own happiness with his own hand, without resorting to the sexton's spades and burying Jacob Marley. But they didn't devote the whole evening to music. After a while they played at forfeits, for it was good to be children sometimes, and never better at Christmas, when its mighty founder was a child himself. Stop! There was the first game at Blind Man's Bluff. Of course there was. And I no more believe Topper was really blind than I believe he had eyes in his boots. My opinion is that, when it was done between them, him and Scrooge's nephew, and that he donned the fire. My opinion is that it was a done thing between him and Scrooge's nephew, and that the ghost of Christmas present knew it. The way he went after that plump sister in a lace tucker was outrageous on credulity of human nature. Knocking down the fire irons, tumbling about on the chairs, bumping against pianos, smothering himself against the curtains. Wherever she went, he went. He always knew where the plump sister was. He wouldn't catch anybody else. If you'd fallen up against him, as some of them did, on purpose, he would have made a feint of endeavor to seize you, which would have been an affront to your understanding, and would have instantly sidled off in the direction of the plump sister. She often cried out that it wasn't fair, and it really wasn't. But when at last he had caught her, well, in spite of all of her silken rustlings and rapid flutterings past him, he got her into a corner whence there was no escape. Then his conduct was most execrable, for his instance pretending on not knowing her, his pretending that it was necessary to touch her headdress to further assure himself of her identity by pressing a certain ring upon her finger, and a certain chain upon her neck was vile, monstrous. No doubt she told him of her opinion of it, when another blind man being in the office, they were so confidential together behind curtains. Interesting. I got nothing to say about that. I'm presuming this is in good nature. Yep. That's what I'm going to do. Because, hey, this is a book written ages ago. Infectious laughter. So we try to prevent the laughter by spreading like an infection. Yep. COVID. We need to stop the Rona. With a mask. Vinegar is sour, but she tried to do it with sweet vinegar to his personality. Oh, I see. Hey, what's up? I'm going to say that's Adam Thrawn. Maybe. Welcome in. Good to see you. Please, get a seat. Unwind. Stay a while and listen. We're reading A Christmas Carol. And we're hanging out. That's what we're doing. It's what we do. Where are we at? Scrooge's niece was not one of the Blind Man's Bluff's party, but was made comfortable with a large chair and a footstool in a snug corner where the ghost and Scrooge were close behind. But she joined in the forfeits and loved her admiration with all the letters of the alphabet. Likewise at the game of how, when, and why, she was great, and to the secret joy of Scrooge's nephew, beat her sisters hollow, though they were sharp girls too, as Topper could have told you. There might have been 20 people there, young and old, but they all played, and so did Scrooge, wholly forgetting in the interest that he had for wholly forgetting in the interest he had in what was going on, that his voice made no sound in their ears. He sometimes came out with his guesses quite aloud, and very often guessed quite right too. For the sharpest needle, the best Whitechapel, warranted not to cut the eye, was not sharper than Scrooge, blunt as he took in his head to be. The ghost was greatly pleased to find him in this mood, and looked upon him with such favour that he begged like a boy to be allowed to stay until the guest departed. But this the spirit said could not be done. "Here is a game, spirit," said Scrooge. "1 half-hour, spirit, only one." It was a game called Yes or No. When Scrooge's nephew had to think of something, and the rest must find out what he was thinking of, he only answered questions yes or no, as the case was. The brisk fire of questionings to which he was exposed elicited from him what he was thinking of. Was an animal? A live animal? A rather disagreeable animal? A savage animal? An animal that growled and grunted sometimes, and talked sometimes, and lived in London, and walked about the streets, and wasn't made a show of, and wasn't led by anyone, and didn't live in a menagerie, and was never killed in a market, and was not a horse, or an ass, or a cow, or a bull, or a tiger, or a dog, or a pig, or a cat, or a bear. At every fresh question that was put upon him, his nephew burst into a similar fresh roar of laughter, and so inexpressibly tickled that he was obliged to get up off the sofa and stamp. At last the plump sister, falling into a similar state, cried out, "I found it out! I know what it is, Fred! I know what it is!" "What is it?" cried Fred. "It's your Uncle Scrooge!" Which it certainly was. Admiration was the universal sentiment, though some objected that the reply, "Is it a bear?" often would have been yes, inasmuch as any answer in a negative was sufficient to have diverted their thoughts from Mr. Scrooge, supposedly they had any tendencies that way. That he had any tendencies that way. That's a tough one. Whew. Okay. "He has given us plenty of merriment, I'm sure," said Fred, "and it would be ungrateful to not drink to his health. Here's a glass of mulled wine ready at our hand at the moment. And I say, Uncle Scrooge." "Well, Uncle Scrooge," they cried. "A Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to the old man, wherever he is," said Scrooge's nephew. "He wouldn't take it from me, but he may have it nevertheless, Uncle Scrooge." Uncle Scrooge had imperceptibly become so gay and light-hearted that he would have pledged the unconscious company in return, and thanked them in an inaudible speech, if the ghost had given him time. But the whole scene had passed off in a breath of the last words spoken by his nephew, and he and the spirit were again upon their travels. Much as they saw, and far as they went, and many homes they visited, but always with a happy end. The spirit stood beside sick beds as they were cheerful on foreign lands, and they were close at home by struggling men, and they were patient in their great hope by poverty, and it was rich in an almshouse, hospital, a jail, in misery's every refuge, where vain man in his little brief authority had not made fast the door and barred the spirit out. He left his blessings and taught Scrooge his percept. It was a long night, if it were only a night. But Scrooge had his doubt of this, because Christmas holidays appeared to be condensed into the space of time in which they passed. It was strange, too, that while Scrooge remained unaltered in his outward form, the ghost grew older, clearly older. Scrooge had observed this change, but never spoke of it until they left a children's twelfth night party. When they looked at the spirit as they stood together in an open place, he noticed his hair was gray. "Are the spirits so short-lived?" asked Scrooge. "My life upon this globe is very brief," replied the ghost. "It ends tonight." "Tonight?" cried Scrooge. "Tonight at midnight. Hark! The time is drawing near." The chimes were ringing the 11:75 at that moment. Forgive me if I am not justified in what I asked, said Scrooge, looking intently at the spirit's robes. But I see something strange and not belonging to yourself protruding from your skirts. Is it a foot or a claw? It might be a claw, for the flesh there is upon it, was the spirit's sorrowful reply. Look here. From the folding of its robes it brought 2 children, wretched, abject, frightful, hideous, miserable. They knelt down at its feet and clung upon the outside of its garment. Oh, man, look here. Look down here, exclaimed the ghost. They were a boy and girl, yellow, meanger, ragged, scowling, wolfish, but prostrate, too, in their humility. Where graceful youths should have filled their features out and touched them with the freshest tints, and stale, shriveled hands, like that of age, had pinched and twisted them, and pulled them into shreds. Where the angels might have sat enthroned, devils lurked and glared out in menace. No change, no degradation, no perversion of humanity in any grade, though all the miseries of wondrous creation, monsters half so terrible and dread. Scrooge stared back appalled. Having them shown to him in this way, he tried to say that they were fine children, but the words choked themselves, rather than be a party to a lie of such an enormous magnitude. Spirit, are they yours? Scrooge could say no more. They are man's, said the spirit down upon him, and they cling to me, appealing from their fathers. This boy is ignorance, and this girl is want. Beware them both, and all of their degree, but most of all beware this boy, for on his brow I see that written which is doom. Unless the writing be erased, deny it, cried the spirit, stretching out his hand towards the city. Slander those who tell it, ye admit it for your factitious purpose, and make it worse. And I bid the end. Have they no refuge or resource? Cried Scrooge. Are there no prisons? Said the spirit, turning on him for the last time with his own words. Are there no workhouses? The bell struck 12. Scrooge looked about him for the ghost, and saw it not. As the last stroke ceased to vibrate, he remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley, and lifting his eyes beheld the solemn phantom draped and hooded coming along like a mist, guided towards him. And that is the end of chapter 3. Leaving us with two chapters. 2 chapters remaining in the grand tale. Whew, that's a good one. I love this one. This one's great. So the scene with ignorance and want is usually cut out of a lot of movies and a lot of films and stuff like that. Mostly because a lot of people don't like the idea or the depiction of children in suffering like this. But I think it really nails home that these are the children of man. These are the things, want and ignorance, and that if we basically don't take responsibility for these things, if we don't learn stuff, and we don't kill our ignorance, I guess, or to stop ignorance from taking hold of us, and if we drive ourselves on our wants, we lose the things that we need, like the spirit of Christmas. The spirit is all about generosity and kindness, which is nothing about our wants. It's about fulfilling other people's wants. It's not about ignorance, because we can't say, well, I'd help people, but I didn't know they were in need, because, people are in need, and you just need to kind of not be ignorant about it. The spirit of Christmas in this vein is just such a beautiful tale of how, there is importance in your goodwill towards others. And I love this one. This is like the original version is way more appealing to me than the older versions. So yeah, that's how I feel anyway. The next one is, of course, like just straight up my style because, of course, we get to see the Ghost of Christmas Future, which is a whole other thing. But again, we have not read through it, so maybe it's a little different. We'll have to come back next week and find out as we visit the Last of the Spirits. So there you go. Hey, thank you so much for joining us, Barnzema. Barnzema, welcome in. How'd you find us? I mean, was it with the lights on? I mean, yeah, we have the lights on, but where have you come from? Have you come from another person's channel? You just out and about, feeling the Christmas spirit? Tell us your thing. Cool. Well, guys, this has been an amazing time. Oh, it is an hour before Christmas here in Perth, so I'm going to take some time and enjoy, basically enjoy the festivities. And tomorrow I'm going to take it nice and easy. I might do another stream tomorrow, so if you haven't followed, give us a follow. You know, like you'll see, I'll be out and doing stuff. We have no Curse of the Crimson Throne because my players are all enjoying the festive season. But yeah, like I said, we might do some reading of some books. We might hang out. We'll figure something out to do. Yeah, might be a little bit later than our usual start time too. The Muppets Christmas Carol is my favorite. Love you reading the original. Oh, thank you, Christina. I love the Muppets one too. There's 3 that I like. So I love the Bill Murray Scrooge one. That one was always great. I did love the Muppet one, but I'm not going to include it in this list. But yeah, I do love the Muppet one. There's one with Jim Carrey, which I really, really enjoyed. And there's one that recently came out. Like, it's on Netflix, I think. It's like very, very updated. I just remember I watched it and I super got behind it. I thought it was like it's like the Jim Carrey one with a lot less Tim Burton feel to it, It was really good. Yeah, take out DAG. Enjoy the celebration. Yes, I will do indeed. The Bill Murray one scared you? Yeah, dude. Yeah, Bill Murray's one was. I love that one. I loved that one because it was again just a modern take on it. It was something that was accessible in the '90s, and I love Bill Murray. Bill Murray at at that period of time, like I as a kid was like, it's the Ghostbuster guy, and then you got to see him dealing with more ghosts, and that was a thing. It was good. It was good. A lot of fun. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the community. We are going to look for a raid. Like, we're gonna pretend like we can find a raid, but like we know the deal. It is late upon the world. Let's see. Who is out and about? Sly First doesn't let people raid him. People making stuff. No, everyone's asleep or doing stuff. Ooh, hold on. Dorktails, are you awake? Let's have a quick look here. Oh, they might be live. Hey, let's raid into Dorktails. Jeez, there they are. All right, done. Yeah, we love Dorktails. Dorktails is great. I don't think they're usually on this time, but let's raid into them. And they're all dressed up. Look at them. Bloody beautiful legends. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. My name's Michael. I'm the Dead Ozzy Gamer. This is my place. This is my face. We run TTRPGs here all the time. And if you want to follow us, just hit that follow button. It costs you nothing. And if you want to come and check us out on all of our cool things, follow us on Discord. It'll tell you wherever I happen to be. If you get a chance to go check out Careful Cantrip, we're getting ready to start our Season 3. And, guys, till we meet again, as always, stay safe, stay kind, and be generous to each other, because why the fuck not? It's Christmas! And until we meet again, from me to you, game hard or die trying. Good night, folks!